10 debutants have been named in the Holden Kangaroos squad to play in the Four Nations tournament that kicks off with a doubleheader at Suncorp Stadium on October 25.
So just running through the squad in alphabetical order, Greg Bird, the Gold Coast Titans, Daly Cherry Evans, the Manuaringa Sea Eagles, Boyd Cordner, Sydney Roosters, Cooper Cronk from the Melbourne Storm, Robbie Farah, West's Tigers, Aidan Guerra, the Sydney Roosters, Jared Hayne, Parramatta Eels, Ryan Hoffman, Melbourne Storm, Ben Hunt from the Brisbane Broncos, Greg Inglis, South Sydney Rabbitohs, Josh Jackson, Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, Michael Jennings, Sydney Roosters, Alex Johnston, South Sydney Rabbitohs, David Clemmer, Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, Josh Mansour, Penrith Panthers, Sione Matautia, Newcastle Knights, Josh Papali, Canberra Raiders, Corey Parker, Brisbane Broncos, Beau Scott from the Newcastle Knights, Cameron Smith, captain from the Melbourne Storm, Sam Thaiday from the Brisbane Broncos, Daniel Tupou from the Sydney Roosters, Dylan Walker, South Sydney Rabbitohs, and Aaron Woods from the West Tigers. As I said, 24-man squad, 10 new debutants, and a really exciting opportunity and period for Australian Rugby League. Pass over to you for questions.
Why so many debutants?
Well, we've chosen from the available players, and when we looked at the squad that also played, just finished the Prime Minister's 13, and clearly the coach, and Tim can talk to that in a moment, but clearly the coach and the selectors thought there were emerging players there that should be brought in. So we have a squad which includes young people who are jumping out of their skin to play for the Australian team.
Can we confirm that's a record number of debutants?
We did a bit of a quick check with David Middleton. We can't confirm that, but you've got to say that 10 out of a squad of 24 is an unusually high number.
Tim, can you tell us how vulnerable this makes Australia in this tournament, having so many young kids and so many experienced players, more importantly, not available?
It'll be interesting to see, given the starting side, how many play how much football over the tournament. Our starting side, although that won't be announced until next week, until we finalise everyone's fitness and so on, will be filled with experienced players. Then there'll be a handful of debutants. So it'll be interesting. It won't be 10 debutants in the starting Australian side. However, they're all talented kids. A lot of them haven't played for Australia, but they've played State of Origin, some of them. So Guerra and company, aren't going to be put off by playing for Australia, given that they've played in that series this year. So there's an element of experience. Grand finals also make up experience. Semi-finals, there's some rep footy played this year, and we are playing a lot of the players who we do play are obviously players that play in the NRL, so it's not as if they're playing against supermen or someone they don't know. Some of the Englishmen would be the interesting one, but so that's a long way of going around saying we'll have to wait and see.
Tim, does it make you feel nervous though, the lack of experience at national level?
More excited by it. Obviously, as a coach, there's a certain amount of concern, but I wouldn't say I'm nervous. No, we hold the trophy, and now we've got to defend it. The issue will be I'm probably more nervous. If I am nervous, it's about getting the combinations together quickly, given that we've formed a number of combinations, not just experienced players, but over a 6-year period that we've been together. A lot of those players have played a lot of that football. When you start talking about your edge defence and people who haven't played with one another, that's a bit of a problem. So we have to factor that in as well. So that'll be the main focus for our first few training sessions will be to get together on the same page defensively. So that's the only nervousness. Not so much winning the game. There's enough talent in that group to worry New Zealand and England and Samoa for sure.
Tim, can you give us a likely indicator to your fullback and centre pairings?
I prefer to leave it for a couple of days. As I've said, I haven't spoken to GI yet. I've had a chat with Jared, and so until I really sit down and talk to them on Friday, this Friday we're getting together a couple of days early just to make sure we get a bit more time together. So on Friday I'll do that, and then I'm sure you guys will be hanging around up there. We're doing all our paperwork Friday, our photographs on Friday, so I'll be better prepared to talk about that then.
How close was a guy like Matt Moreland, for example, who's obviously done so well with Penrith?
Yeah, he did very well on the game. I was very impressed with him, and that was part of the reason I went also. And although Laurie dropped out and I ended up coaching them, it was great to work with him. Yeah, they were good kids. They came together really quickly. I was surprised how many of those young players, Greg Bird and the senior guys in the group took to them really well, really quickly. So they came together very quickly, and I was very happy with the way they played overall, for most of the game. And he had an exceptionally good game. Couple of tough little things happened, but he was, it was a very physical game. The conditions were really, really oppressive. So they battled a bit as a group because of that. But from my point of view, he played very well.
Do you think that game was that a good trial game for you was there anyone that played themselves into this squad from that game?
I think young Siani would be one of those players. Josh Mansour certainly convinced me. So there'd be at least a couple. That happened last year too. Corey Parker last year. Although Corey had already had a game for Australia, but he convinced me that he was ready to walk into the starting side. So I was. The game was a very physical. It was I think it was more physical this year than last year actually, with the Hunter background there and. A 22-man unlimited interchange. They certainly poured out the people on us, and our guys had to stand their ground. So, but there was a lot of character shown, not only by the younger ones, the senior guys in particular played well too. Bird and Bo Scott, Josh Hoff, and Woodsy, Robbie Farah. They held the centre really well. Papali.
It's a real change of the guard in terms of the Kangaroo history of this core the 50 years has been very successful. But I guess at some point you had to move forward. That's it.
Well, we've been put in that position at the moment. I'm not saying they're all dead and gone just yet either. I don't think Jonathan would be happy to hear that he's out of the picture. But there is it's coming. There's no doubt. We talked about this 18 months ago. But for various reasons, it's happened at the moment, and there's an opportunity for some guys, maybe a few more than we thought. The idea of a changeover comes in a tournament anyway. You always, with 24, in a team scenario, your best 17 or 8 and the 18th man are there. The younger guys don't get too many look-ins in that sort of thing, but in a 24-man squad you can. So we were always thinking of some younger players this year anyway, obviously a few more than maybe we thought.
But Tim, if you look at the squad depth, for example, from the World Cup, you could rotate players a lot more confidently because you had a lot more experience. Do you expect to use the same rotation process, or a lot of these debutants there just to get the feeling of being in the group and wearing a...
I've not had a tournament yet without anyone getting a game. So everyone gets a game if we can do that. But the starting, I think there's 12 out of the 24 still playing in this group. So they'll be the core of the team. So, but a lot of the young guys, we'll rotate them and use the bench to do that. We can't afford to be thinking about we'll play this game with we can rest players in a particular game, because we need to win every game, and particularly the first two games. So the experienced players will hold us together, but there will be a sprinkling of young player through the squad. And some of the players like young Tupu, players like that who've played State of Origin, anyone who's played State of Origin, Guira, those sorts of guys, to me, have played Test match football. They're not foreign to playing. You play in that series this year. It's two Australian sides at each other. I've always said they're 3 tests in the middle of a year. So I'm sure England and New Zealand would love to have that sort of preparation. So if you can manage that in a season, you can play Test match footy at the end of the year.
Do you like the format of the tournament? The fact you have to use your guns straight up?
Oh, look, to me, a Test match, you put your best team out there as best you can. I don't like resting them; they don't like being rested. So, there's no easy way around it. Depending on where we're seated. I haven't seen the seedings, and and I'm not sure whether it's you guys who seed us or the bookies do or some expert does. But we've always been seated number 1 generally, and we hold the trophy. So, but I'm not going to put anyone in any particular seeding. But each game in itself will be a tough match, so we just need to go with our best side and I need to play players who are in form. A couple of them haven't played for a while. That was why the PNG game was very good for the guys who hadn't played a bit of footy for a while, because it took them to a dark place there, that last 20 minutes of that game the other day. So that was good for them, physically and mentally. And a number of the guys, obviously the grand finalists only finished last week, so they should be ready to play. So I think overall, fitness-wise, I think we'll be pretty good. It's just a matter of coming up with the right combinations, and that's obviously the selectors and myself are going to have to sit down and try and work that out when we actually name the starting side.
Tim, of all the kids, I guess Sione's the youngest in terms of NRL games.
Yeah.
What was your discussions around him and why?
Look, again, the outside back situation has. We're looking at size and obviously his talent. He can play wing and centre. The guys who come in on the back end of when you say the back end, in the 24, obviously, I've already spoken to him. He's not going to start in the first game, I wouldn't think. So at the end of the day, though, his versatility, Dylan Walker's versatility, those sorts of things are very important when you're supporting the back line in case I have an issue. Fullbacks change, wingers change, or centres change during the game through injury or whatever. So his versatility, and I think he's a kid of the future, to be quite honest. I think quite a few people agree with me. And the guys who played with him the other day after the game, he dished up on Sunday. A couple of the senior players agreed with it as well. So I think he will be, when he plays in this tournament, the youngest player.
That, if he does play the game, he will be the youngest ever debutant.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Tim, what do you like about Ben Hunt and his versatility as well?
Yeah, again, he falls into that category of, as Daly did. He's played, started as a 7 and has played a bit of 6, played a bit of 13, played a bit of 9. As the years have gone on through this tournament situation, obviously he plays, halfback for his club, but he has played and Hunty edged out young Pearce, I think, on that basis.
John, it's a little bit off topic, that's why I waited till the end, but I've been asked to ask you about that Ben Flower punch in the Super League final. Do you think that shows that the NRL did the right thing, outlawing the punch, because in the heat of the moment those things can happen?
Look, I think, like everyone thinks, I mean, I've been around footy a long time, right? And I grew up playing in the era when there frequently were brawls in games, and it was sort of an accepted part of the game. But everyone's just appalled by what they saw, and it was in Technicolor, and it was, he had an opportunity not to do the second punch, and I just, and I think he's, when you saw him going off, he didn't know what hit him, he was really distressed. So I think, I'm not necessarily going to try and, gain an advantage in terms of the decisions we've been making, but when you see that, the way that we watch our game these days, it's just unacceptable. So, not a good look. Not a good look.
Can I ask about Alex Johnson as well? He's obviously, if it wasn't for Sione, he'd be one of those real young guys in the squad. He's shown under pressure this year, he can handle it.
Yeah, he certainly has. Yeah. Look, his performances have earned him a right to be considered, and at the end of the day, when we finalised the squad, we found we needed an extra back, and we felt he qualified. He's played really well. Again, he's got a combination with Dylan that may be handy for us as well. So, but I think that left edge has played brilliantly for South Sydney. So I think, again, a bit of a surprise, I suppose. He'll be surprised, I'm sure. But I don't think anyone in the room would say that he wouldn't deserve to get an opportunity.
Tim, is this the Kangaroos' greatest challenge?
Oh, look, I'm very, very confident. I know what you're saying, but I'm very, very confident in this group. Yeah, and I know the senior players will rise to the occasion. I've spoken to Cam. They'll rise to the occasion. The young guys bring enthusiasm to a squad big time. If you looked at the Kiwi side that played us earlier this year, and everyone said, "Oh, look, they couldn't possibly handle Australia for 60 minutes." We were in all sorts of trouble. So it's amazing what young, fresh blood can do to a side. So I see that invigorating the squad. It's an opportunity for them to show what they can do over this tournament, given that, as we said, there probably some senior guys would come back into the squad next year. but it's an opportunity for these guys to really to shine and show, and what the selectors and myself, what they can do, and that's going to strengthen the broader base of the Australian side over the next few years when we're going into Four Nations in 16 in England and then World Cup here in 17. Some of these guys have to be given an opportunity.